Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. The real deal with media programming. And I kind of started getting into this a little bit with my previous video when I was doing the review of Insecure. Because as I said in that video, this is deeper than just reviewing some random TV show. See, understand one thing. There are three great shapers of human behavior on a mass scale. One is religion. Two is the government education system and also different laws and regulations. That shapes behavior. Those are two separate videos in themselves, especially the religion one, because something like religion, people don't want to hear that its primary purpose is to shape behavior. But then the third one, which I'll definitely get into, is media. Media shapes behavior on a mass scale, both for economic purposes and control purposes. Those are primary things, but then you also have some other stuff with the media. The one thing about media is used as an organ of propaganda to promote the viewpoints of different elite groups. Different economic groups, people who have the money, they can advertise certain things, not to just get you to buy, but to get you to behave in a certain way. Political groups who want political power, they can put out certain information. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda on the economic level, and it is to get you to buy something. Like, for example, since this conversation got started with a review of Insecure, if you really look at it, the real demographic of Insecure is not all black people. The demographic are educated black women. Because I had mentioned in a previous video about Waiting to Exhale. And, that was about four women looking for Mr. Right. What do you have in this? Even though you have two best friends, if you expand the circle, it's still four women. Now, in this case, it's three women looking for Mr. Right, and then one woman who's supposedly in a happy relationship. But, there's some indications that might be an issue. It really taps into, I would say, the angst of professional black women. Now, I had said on a video a while ago, I was waiting. I've been chomping at the bit for one of those Shortage of Good Men videos or shows or news specials. We might not get it because we have Insecure now. See, one thing with the media, you can introduce an idea and people will accept it way quicker than if you did it on a news program. One of the reasons is people will tend to suspend their disbelief and they won't be as critical when it's presented as entertainment. But in reality, it's just a way of programming your mind in a certain way. We saw this in the early 90s with the advent of gangster rap. And what those videos were doing and people talking a certain thing. Gangster rap was originally just a subculture. It was just a subgenre of rap. And around that time, there was a high level of consciousness. Then all of a sudden you get gangster rap. All of a sudden that consciousness goes the other way. And there were some other factors as well. But it was all the media. It was done through the media. Those videos are media. Literature. Anything that communicates information either through the written word or actually more effective through visual is a means of control. Because, and this is, this is a big subject. I'd halfway do a pay video on it. But I'm just wanted to give you an idea. When you're seeing this stuff, pay attention to it because, it's a way of programming people, but then you can also get an idea what agenda is being pushed by different elite groups. I give you a great example, right? November 6, 2001, a popular TV show premiered. It was called 24. And the first episode, the premise was there was a black man running for president of the United States, and there were some people who wanted to kill him. Now, I want y'all to think about it. Now, the character, the black man, David Palmer, he went on in the later seasons, became president, was real popular with fans. This was in 2001. And then in 2004, a young, unknown state senator from Illinois had a great speech at the Democratic National Convention. His name was Barack H. Obama. See, that wasn't an accident. See, one of the things they'll do, and I'm going to say I'll just say the elite. Other people got other terms, but if they want to do something, they'll introduce it first in maybe a seemingly innocent TV program. Now, I mentioned in the last video how a former CIA agent said if he can tell when some country is about to be invaded because you see a bunch of movies come out. This is true. You always look at what's going on in these programs, because then you can get an idea what's coming into real life. And even you think about the word programming. We'll say programming almost really more than we'll say show. Think about it. Program. People are being programmed for something. And really, if you check out a lot of new technology, especially if you check out like a lot of science fiction, like there's been a lot of talk about automation, especially by the master teacher BGS. Well, it was interesting. Recently I saw a preview for this movie coming up called Geostorm. And even though it was presented in a few seconds in the preview, there was a driverless car. Also, if people, especially comic book fans, remember that movie Logan, about, Wolverine. They had driverless trucks. And they didn't make a big deal out of it. They didn't make a big deal like, oh, there go those driverless trucks. It was just there. See, a lot of times what'll happen is technology will be developed and then introduced to the masses to see how they respond to it in the TV programming. They'll say, well, okay, people, they might not be ready for it. Let's not put it out. An agency I want y'all to look up is Darpa or Darpa. That southern accent comes in, yo. And Darpa, that's DARPA. I'll see if there's a link to his website in the description box. But that stands for Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's a department of it's a agency within the U.S. Department of Defense. These are the people who had the internet back in 1969, and also that graphic interface, basically how we able to use the mouse and everything. And there's a lot of other technology that they come up with, and basically they'll sell it or something to some private company, but they won't say it's from DARPA. They'll people will think that private company created it or something, but really there's a lot of technology. But one of the things they'll do, they'll introduce that technology in TV programming or movies or something like that. Just like they introduced driverless trucks. And we'll see that, and then all of a sudden we'll get used to it. Now, I know, especially in conspiracy circles, a lot of people have been talking about chips. That goes back a long time. Worried about microchips, being chipped. Now, it's interesting. I would watch some science fiction. I like science fiction. I will watch a show, and it would be a subtle reference to somebody scanning somebody because they have a chip inside of them. Like they could track the person because of the chip, and they'll make it a part of the story. Even in later seasons of 24, they had something like that. They could track the person, and they'll do stuff like that to introduce the concept, get people used to the concept. And it's interesting. I was watching CNBC. I think it was whatever the business channel is, and there was. It was a gentleman, a CEO of some company, And they were talking about microchipping all of their employees. And they were putting it right out there. It was like, hey, you won't even need a card or anything because they could get lost or stolen. But you can't do it. The thing is, you can't do anything with somebody if they chipped. They have all their information. That's coming. That's coming. And I can tell that's coming because when you start seeing, if you see any technology, any new thing in any movie or something, people say, oh, that's just science fiction. They probably already have it invented. But then they have to introduce it to the masses. And see, that's just one thing. Of course, and it's a lot of little things. It's interesting. In high school, I had a teacher. He was hardcore. I would say he was hardcore left wing, like hardcore. But this is a gentleman. Some people who might have went to my high school will probably know who I'm talking about. I know I have a few subscribers who went to my high school. And this is a dude who, he had volunteered to serve in Vietnam. He had been a captain in the Army. Well, captain or lieutenant, whatever the case. But something happened to him, and then that dude was pretty much anti-government. Right? He was pretty much anti-government. But I remember one class, and he gave us an assignment. And the assignment was to watch the evening news. I think it was the ABC Evening News, but not to watch the news itself. Basically, we were to watch the commercials because that's media as well. When you see stuff promoted, you get an idea about economics, you get an idea of what's going on socially. Like one thing, if you pay attention to a lot of commercials now that feature women in them, pay attention to, well, one, you'll see a lot of interracial couples or biracial looking folks. But one thing you'll also see is a lot of women who are racially ambiguous. In other words, they could be biracial or they could be Hispanic. That's the economic thing, because this thing with the media, it goes across. It's, I say the main things are economics and control, but, there's so many little subcategories within each one of those. Like with the economics thing, people, like these major corporations, they already recognize that the demographics of at least this country are changing. They will pay thousands of dollars. We're talking 5-figure thousands of dollars to know about a particular group and attract their buying habits. That's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why people have all these like discount cards and all of that, or club cards. To track what you're doing and everything. And then you have media to actually promote you to buy things or to keep you steered in certain ways. And also, it's so much with that is propaganda. Like if you start seeing like a certain group demonized in the media, and I'll use the term, since I have mostly black males listening to my channel, think about what you see on like some news programs. It's very rare you see a black man who's really doing something outside of sports or entertainment or politics featured. It's featured, but it's like rare. You'll hear about the kid who got like about 50 scholarships to different full ride scholarships to colleges, and that's pretty good sometimes. And usually those are local stories. But the image you usually see of a black man, think about it. Usually the commission of some crime or something, even though it's a small percentage, but that's a programming thing too. That's a programming thing. In Nazi Germany, they didn't really have televisions or anything, but there was a lot of propaganda against Jews. See, understand, this is powerful. You pay attention to everything. You pay attention to it. There's no innocent program on television, or there's always some type of agenda behind a movie beyond making money. Always, because you have to think about the process of which shows we see and which shows we don't is very much a political process. You know, because if you see like on a television network, any one of them, if they might have maybe 20 new shows. If they have 20, that means they were probably presented with maybe 200 new shows that didn't make it. There's a lot of stuff that gets filmed but never sees the light of day. There are movies that are done that never make it to the theaters, or even as far as getting streamed or something. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't really going on that we don't really realize, but it's all programming. It's all programming. Now, some people might say, well, I just won't watch TV. I won't go to the movies. Well, you're still being affected by people who are. Because if people around you doing it, they still going to look at you a certain way. If you some dude, you're a good guy, and you have some woman programmed to look for tats and your pants off your ass, hey, that's something. So even then, even shows, I mean, like, I'm very entertained by the show Power, but at the same time, I'm peeping some things too. I'm peeping some things. And I'm like, okay. You know, personally, I like the show because it showed the dude trying to get out of the drug game. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never watched it. But I'm peeping. It was like, well, you know, it's kind of limited what he's doing. It's like, okay, entertainment kind of with the club thing, and they talking about real estate. You know, why not somebody coming to power with an IT firm or something? I want y'all to think about that. Think about it. Even if you know, right now I'm doing that thing with Insecure, that is very much programming. That is very much programming. It's Waiting to Exhale. It's an echo of Waiting to Exhale 20 years later. So, you know, just think about, just always keep that in mind. There's always something. There's no, you know, I'm going to get a little deep with you. The purpose of art really is behavior shaping. And it's really to help someone to evolve spiritually. But certain forces have figured, hey, we can do it to support, you know, to keep them under control. Keep people under control, to keep them buying products that they don't need. Yeah, there's a lot of programming around Christmas time. Okay, I want you to think about it. Think about it. So, anyway, that's it for this one. Think about what I just said. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.